So about a month ago, I got an assignment at school um, for a class to present to a business, and so they kind of opened it up. You can do whatever, and whatever else. And so I actually decided that I wanted to do it for ACS Can, and so I reached out to Mary, and she graciously accepted the invitation for me to come on here and present to you all. And so I asked her. I said, "Okay, well, we're doing this. What kind of topic do you want me to present on?" And she gave a few options, but the first one that she gave is one that really stuck out to me. And she said that she wanted me to kind of see how we can draw in the younger generation. That's not that young, but more like this beautiful man right here. Um, so that's me, for those of you who don't know. But she talked about wanting to draw in more millennials into this kind of work. And so I just thought, all right, I can think about this. Let's do some research on this. And so I do what any good person does nowadays, right? And I went to Father Google. And Google tells me, so I search, hey, what kind of things draw millennials' attention? What, how to draw millennials to my business, those kind of things. And so I'm searching this, and what I'm coming up with are things such as this list, right? No, not this list right here. Sorry, there's a lot of other lists that come up. They're not like this, nice and naughty. But there are lists that come up like this. Here are some kind of examples of what I saw in terms of attracting millennials to businesses. And it's to have a well-defined job description, offer flexible schedules, let your brand story do the work, have values that align with your goals, dedicated intern programs. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, ACS Can does this. They have a well-defined job description. I mean, here's what you do. When I started to go into it, it was pretty clear what you did as a job or as a volunteer or whatever your title is, intern, whatever it may be. Flexible schedules, of course. I mean, goodness, there's only 2 or 3 times a year I feel that everybody kind of as a volunteer, and even those are optional, so really flexible schedules. Let your brand story do the work. ACS Can. I mean, it's the brand itself is doing a lot of work. It's really what defines the job. And so have values that align with your goals. I mean, I could not imagine working or volunteering for an organization that has values that align directly with the goals, such as ACS Can does. And I've dedicated intern programs. So you already, obviously, I came in here as an intern, and so you all do this stuff already. So I'm sitting here at the computer like this. I'm frustrated. I'm like, how am I going to give a presentation on things that they already do? And so I started to think a little bit. My brain started to go around and think about, hey, how can I do this? Should I change topics? What can I do? What research is there where I can say, hey, you need to improve on this? And then I had an idea. Let's go back to this man right here. I'm a millennial, turns out. Anyway, I don't know. That's what they tell me anyway. And so I'm like, you know what? I know an expert on the topic of drawing millennials into ACS Can because I am a millennial. And I'm 25 years old. I know that the lack of hair makes it look a little bit older, maybe. But being 25 years old, being a millennial, and having been drawn into ACS Can, and by the way, I know that there are some people out there that talk about how millennials, who are millennials, who don't want to associate themselves with millennials or whatever. I'm the pretty typical millennial. Anything good, anything bad that's stereotypical, I feel like you can look up, and I'm a lot of that. So I'm not some anomaly or anything like that. So anyway, so I thought about, hey, how did I get drawn into this? What really inspired me to to want to volunteer and want to intern for ACS can. And a few things stuck out to me, and I do want to say that I do think that there is already some of this going on, but I do think that it can be emphasized just a little bit more based on what I've seen. So the first one, of course, is how I got involved was I saw the word cancer, and I know that that seems like kind of an interesting thing to say, hey, how can we improve in this? This is something that is pretty clearly your goal. It's very clearly something that is the center focus of it. And I just want to tell a little bit of how I got involved, because if you were to come at me, or many of the people who I know in my age group, with saying, hey, you need to lobby to the legislators here locally, or wherever it may be, I would have ran away so fast. But if you emphasize, hey, you can join the fight against cancer, and then I think if the political things kind of come secondary to that, it will draw more millennials into the cause, because as we've seen, as we've all seen in this business, even just me with barely 7-8 months under my belt of being in this, as we see with this organization, everybody has a cancer story. And so if we can connect to that cancer story and then explain how to get involved into it, rather than kind of lumping it all into one piece, I think that would be very beneficial. That's how I got involved anyway. Again, if you were to tell me straight off that I would have had to talk to any legislation, talk to anything about politics, political anything, I would have ran away and just looked the other direction. And so, anyway, so that's the first idea that came to my mind. The second one is to be personable. And my goodness, I think that I have met some of the most personable people here in this business, and I just think that if you just continue to be as personable as you can, as far as I've seen, and I think this is with people in general. I'm not sure if this is just a millennial thing, but people in general who I've met, they don't like to work for the man, for the boss, right? Like, we want to work for people who can relate to us, who we can talk to. And Mary, you do a great job of being personable, and seriously, everybody that I met, and I'll get to that in a little bit, has been very personable to me. So just go out there and just be yourselves, continue to be yourselves, and I think you'll attract a lot of this generation just by kind of telling stories and just rather than coming at them as maybe selling something and hey, here's an opportunity, just kind of talk to them, talk about what their cancer story is, and again, it's going back to that cancer thing, and then going into, hey, here's me, here's who I am, and then, hey, here's how you can help, and it's through the legislation, it's through the government, and here's how we help them to help cancer patients, kind of thing. And the last thing here is small things make a huge difference. I remember when I was in Idaho Falls, and this is the first time I met you, Luke. I remember you took some time. It was back in October, I want to say, because it was before the election. And so, Luke, you took some time after you met with some of the local legislators to just talk to me, just for a brief moment. So that was awesome. I remember going to Portland in November, and I was so nervous. I had met, I had talked to Mary before, but that was about it. I had been on these calls. Shay always hides her face, so I didn't know what she looked like, all that kind of stuff. And so going into Portland, I remember just feeling such a welcoming presence by Mary saying, hey, here's all the Idaho people, sit by them, and just talking to me as a person, not treating me as some kind of outsider because I'm all the way over here on the other side of the state in the frozen tundra of Rexburg, right? But just doing these small things. And again, I do want to emphasize that these three things that I've talked about with the cancer, with being personable and doing the small things, these are things that ACS CAN already does from what I've seen. These are just things that you can put more to the forefront if you're looking to attract millennials and kind of the younger generation, if that makes sense. So anyway, that's my presentation. I really appreciate all of you being here and listening to me and giving me the time. I really appreciate it. So thank you so much.